let's head to Baltimore now because it'll start to get us into our final conversation. But so obviously the Orioles are, I believe now 13 games below 500. Buy or sell at the trade deadline, the Orioles will trade 2 or more of Sugano, Eflin, O'Hearn, and Mullins.
If the rate that it's going, I would buy that 2 of those guys are gone. I think that it just makes sense from that standpoint, but I'm still sticking with my point, Zach. Draw a line in the sand. Who do you want to be a part of your retooling? Not rebuilding. This is not a rebuilding ball club. Who are you retooling with? Sagano is going to be a free agent. Eflin's going to be a free agent. If those arms are able to get additional value, and like a guy like Sagano who's pitched so well, some team might overspend for him or put a deal that you can't turn down.
Yeah.
But if they don't, I would look at the option of, and we've seen this, could you possibly extend these guys right now? Could you extend them to keep them in Baltimore? The same can be said for Ryan O'Hearn and Cedric Mullins. I want to preface this real quickly. This is what my answer that I'm going to give is not what I want, but what I think will happen. I want to see Ryan O'Hearn stay and Cedric Mullins because I don't think you can quickly go, we trade these guys away and we're a better team next year, because I don't believe that.
No.
But I do think that the Orioles are going to move 2 guys because they're going to say we're going to get a value that we can't turn down. And that's where I'm lying with that. And Zach, I think you and I are in the same ballpark with this, but I wanted to emphasize that point real quickly.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it, kind of like you, with the same kind of stipulation of right now. I think it just makes sense if you're sitting here and you're completely out of it still at the deadline, I think they're going to get value, but you have to decide. I don't think getting rid of all 4 and being like, okay, we're just moving on, it's the best way to do it because you want to compete next year. I think you identify 1 or 2 of them that you want to continue to be on this team, whether it's Sagano, whether it's O'Hearn, Mullins, Eflin, you give them a deal. And then if there are guys that you can get value for that you think it's the right deal to make, I think they do make those moves. So, I don't think it is something that impacts, or it will be impacted by are they going all in this year necessarily. I think it's going to be what 2 do they think can help them in the next 2 years. Whether, because I don't think the Orioles right now are going to see themselves, even if they get back to 500, as perennial World Series contenders. Let's go all in for it this year. Let's keep all 4 of them. Let's go make 2 big deals to bring guys in. I don't see that happening. So I think you make 2 moves that you can get guys back for, retool with. And then I think you decide 1 or 2 of them that you're like, this guy is going to be here in the next year or 2.
And we're going to – do you have another buy or sell, by the way?
Yeah, and it's going to get us finally into our next topic.
Yeah, let me finish this thought. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button here. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right here on YouTube and X and now Facebook. And if you guys don't mind, follow on all those platforms. We are on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We post these smaller clips out there so you guys can go watch as well. YouTube is the home base, though, for all the content. Wanted to throw that out there, right? And we like to have fun. We usually cook on Wednesdays, but we're not in the studio. So a lot of things we like to do besides just talking shop, we like to have fun here. But since we are talking about baseball, let me finish this point before we get into the buy or sell. And I saw this point from Justin about a guy like Laureano feels like he could be traded because you're looking at long-term pieces. He's a guy that a team could really utilize right now. And again, if the Orioles go on a little bit of a bender here and they get back in this dance, then we could have a different conversation. But they're going to trade people if this is where it stands because there are teams that are going to go for it. But when you're talking about setting a foundation and when you're talking about the essence of what you want your ball club to be moving forward, right? Right? Yeah. Like, it's not as simple as, yeah, we're going to trade these guys away. And I understand the theory. Yeah, we could sign them back if we want them. No, you got to decide who you want in the building. And in my opinion, most cases, and I know we've talked about in the past, you could sell a guy and he could make his way back. More times than not, they don't come back. And if I'm a player too, you're telling them, yeah, we love you, but this team values you more. And that team might say, hey, we want you here long term. And guess what? That relationship, that bond that you created is gone. Yeah. And also, if you're a guy like, let's go Cedric Mullins, Eflin, O'Hearn, and a guy like O'Hearn who's talked about like, hey, I love being here. And maybe for the right price, he stays. But imagine you go somewhere else and you realize, man, this feel is better. This direction of where they're going is better. Because right now in Baltimore, what do you see? You see a team that has talent. You see a group that you believe can win. But what's the one thing that's being in question now is the direction, the foundation. Are we developing the right way? Are we going to put the players in the best position to have success? Who is going to be running this team? Right? Like, all those questions go in. And I think that sometimes as fans, you can overlook the other optics that go into it. Because once you make a move, there's differences that changes in a clubhouse and differences that happens on a coaching staff that we will have to continue to discuss. Long-winded answer. Zach, I'm ready. What's our final question?
Final question, and it's going to lead us into our next segment, Ryan. Buy or sell? The Baltimore Orioles should listen to offers on Felix Bautista.
Sell. Did I say sell?
You might have once or twice. You may have.
It would have to take a king's ransom. Like, while I was hearing the talks last year of Scooble being on the move for like Jackson Holiday or Sam Basayo or both, it would have to be something of that magnitude that would make me say give up one of the best closers in baseball that is rounding into form again. Yeah. I talk about a foundational piece, man. That would sour me. I mean, I get soured on a few things, but what say you?
I'm with you. I am team sell. I do not think I would listen because everyone has a price. Now, the price that I would want for Felix Bautista, I do not know if any other team would be comfortable meeting that. If the Phillies want to give me Painter, the number 2, like, okay, then we can start a conversation then. I don't think the Phillies would even pick up the phone if you asked that. So it's like, yeah, there would be offers I'd be willing to take, but I don't know, if the Athletics called and they're like, hey, we'll give you Mason Miller, but the price you're not matching the price that would take. If they want to call, I'll listen, but I would not in any way see someone matching the price that I think it would take to get a Felix Bautista if I were the one selling. So,
I think this is, and so I see these comments here, and so Biohack Lab, I get confused because it's not the name that I usually see on the other platforms. But what if this is peak Bautista? And I get it. You're trying to look at what is the value for guys. But Zach, it goes back to what is your foundation of your team? Because this isn't an organization where you're looking at the Marlins who are like, hey, let's get a bunch of young guys and bring them in here and see how we build up. The A's, even though they were not contending last year, and they still are stinking it up this year for the most part, right? They went through that cold stretch, but they won the series against Baltimore. They played better. They have a young nucleus that's there. And they said, we're not moving Miller. He's a part of our foundation. Could that change this year? Of course. Every team has a price. It's a steep price if you want Miller or Bautista, and most teams would laugh and hang up the phone of like, that's just way too much. No doubt about it. But if you're a ball club, you just have to set a bar on who do you want to be a part of your team. Yeah. And Bautista, also, by the way, I think we realized when you don't have someone, you realize how valuable someone is. It's not easy to find another closer off the street here, by the way. When you go and look at some of the great teams, and we could stay in division here because there was a team that was dominant, and they still, will say that they've won a lot of championships, and they haven't won a championship in 15 years up in New York. They're still one hell of a franchise, by the way. That's not me knocking New York. But when they were in their heyday in the late 90s, 2000s, who was the guy closing out games?
Mariano.
That impact at the end of the game means a ton to a team. It doesn't carry the same value, but I'll tell you what, it matters when you have a guy that is lethal at the back end of the bullpen. So I think it's selling. You listen to calls, but I just don't see in any way, shape, or form that we're going to get to that point. I think that's what Robert Murray, when he went on Foul Territory, right? So we don't even have to play that clip because he's essentially saying what we're saying,
Yeah, and I agree. I don't like. I think we both agree on you listen, but I don't think there is a middle ground that's going to be found for the value that the Orioles should want, at least for Felix Bautista, and what the other team would be willing to give. It would take a lot to get Felix Bautista because he still is under contract. I mean, this is not just a rental Felix Bautista. You would be getting 1+ year Felix Bautista, and that is big. So it would take a lot because, as Murray says in the clip, you don't sell anything that's going to impact next year because you're a good team still. This year it did not work so far, but we've seen the talent. There is talent there, and it can just kind of snowball if you're getting rid of all your good players for the future as well. It's not good.
Yeah, I see about talking about Cano in here, and
that could be interesting.
Like guys like that, the Orioles. Again, you're looking at your foundational pieces moving forward. That's just the biggest part of that. Who is your foundational pieces? If you're gonna say that they're not, then hey, make a move. But the bigger thing too, if you make moves, you also need to figure out what you have with the guys that stay. I'm talking about some of the prospects. Kobe Mayo's here, and with Mountcastle out, you got to let him sink or swim for a few months.